Bryan, it's good to talk to you again. We've been having these chats concerning strong willed children, strong willed people. And one of the questions I had for you was just about, when a person gets under stress, then things get even more complicated. And I know my experiences as a parent and also my experiences as a teacher was that when my children are under stress, to find that balance between uh, like managing the behaviors that come out, but at the same time not killing the spirit or the soul of the child. Different people use different words. What do you have for input on that?
Thank you for the question. It's a deep discussion, isn't it? So when we talk about will versus spirit, it's an interesting one because a child's will is going to change sometimes moment by moment, but certainly as they get older. That's you think of the will as kind of the temporary wants, the thing. So if you take a kid to a toy store, their wants are going to be different than if you take them to the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
So my job is to constantly mold the will to moral right things while supporting the spirit at the same time. And we need to not squash one at the expense of their spirit is kind of what drives them. We talked in one of our previous sessions about reframing a child who might be stubborn and referring to them as persistent. Having a strong will is actually a great thing. We reframe the way we look at it. So we always want to support their spirit. That's kind of who they are, what they're born with, while molding the will along the way as well, because wills change. So the truth about stress, and we'll probably talk about this in some of our other discussions as well, the truth about stress is we just don't behave the same when we're under high levels of stress. Now, not all stress is bad, of course. Some stress in short doses is actually pretty good for us. But long-term unchecked stress is actually pretty damaging to my brain and to my body and to the entire system. Main thing we need to understand is that when we're under stress, this is true of adults and children as well, we just don't act the same. We don't think the same. It's actually a biological thing in your brain. We can look at brain scans and show you that your brain under stress and conflict downshifts. You think less from your prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain for thinking and processing and impulse control. The little voice inside your head you talk to all takes place up here. But when we're under high levels of stress, our brain downshifts and we typically respond emotionally. Not always, of course. Now, as adults, we've developed some stress management tools. We kind of have a sense of ourselves and what we do when we're under stress and good ways to handle it and not so good ways to handle it. Kids don't always have those same well-developed stress management tools. So we just understand this. When a child is under stress because there's conflict in the family or with a sibling, or when schoolwork becomes so overwhelming, or there's other emotional demands on them, they're going to act differently. They're going to act differently than they would if they were in kind of a more calm state. So a brief review of something we talked about previously, and that is an individual's love languages. We talked about Dr. Gary Chapman and his idea that we all speak a language of love. And this when we say love, we're talking connection, rapport, connection with an individual, not necessarily romantic love. But we do so through one of five primary methods of communication is a way to think about it. He calls them love languages. One is physical touch. Some people like to connect by being physically around other people. Some people like words of encouragement. Some people like quality time. Some people like gifts. Some people prefer acts of service. There's a number of different ways we communicate. So when we're under high levels of stress, one way we can kind of reduce that stress, knowing that we're always going to be a little bit different when we're under stress. If I see someone under stress, I'm going to ask myself, how do they best receive calm or love or connection? Is it through quality time? Is it through some words of encouragement? Is it through acts of service? Is it through one of those five? So I try to communicate to them through whatever is going to be easiest to get through the filter. That's another analogy that works pretty well is when you're under high levels of stress, you have this big old filter and not much is getting through other than your own internal feelings. How can I get through that filter is by speaking the language that they might best receive.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that input, and I look forward to chatting with you again.
Thanks, Judy. This is fun. I appreciate it.